Hello and welcome to today's video. You're watching the Flying Guts YouTube channel. My name is Elias, and in today's video, we're going to be talking about the 5 compromises you're going to have to make if you're considering to buy a Honda Civic Type R and using it as a daily driver. We all know that the Civic Type R does a lot of great things. It's amazing at the track. It's great on highway trips. It's a great commuter. It's fuel efficient and it has a ton of space for such a small car. However, there's still 5 things that you're going to want to think about before you buy one of these and use it every single day. And so in this video, we're going to discuss all those things. If you have any questions, put them down below. Leave a like if you like these kinds of videos. Leave a dislike if you don't. And subscribe to the channel if you want more videos like this. All right, guys, let's go ahead, have some fun. Now, the agenda for today for me is pretty packed. I have a lot of errands to run, which means I'm going to be getting in and out of the car a lot. And the first compromise we're going to talk about is really getting in and out of the car. We all know how good these seats are, but there's one negative thing about how good they are. Let me show you a typical demonstration of me getting into my car. I love that it has 4 doors and ample back seat room. I'll just put my, whatever I'm carrying, my backpack usually, in the back, and then I come here. Getting in and out, a little bit of a trick. What I do is I put this bolster between my legs, get in slowly so I don't scratch anything up, and then drag my feet into the car, just like this. Nice and comfortable. And that's how you get in and out. Now, getting out, kind of similar. Put your foot here. Feet here, arm here, help that push you out, and there you have it. Not that big a deal, but if you're doing it a lot, and if you're not, physically inclined to do it, it's gonna take a little bit of effort, because the last thing you want to do is sit on the bolster, because eventually that will ruin the bolster. Now, once you're in the car, it's actually quite comfortable, and it greets you very nicely. Love that greeting. Love seeing it every day. Now, once you're in the car, again, it's very comfortable. You can see why you have to do a little bit of acrobatics to get in. But once you're in, I mean, the seats hug you so well. The materials in here are really nice. I mean, these are really good quality materials for a Civic, right? And you can see my seat is fairly upright. This is basically almost my track driving position. And that's just what I'm used to, right? When I get into my Type Rs, I like getting into my driving mode, and this is part of the excitement. You get into a car, it's all red, you got a stick shift here, it's manual, you're ready to rock. Even if it's just mundane tasks, you're gonna have some fun. But there's more to discuss on some of the compromises, so let's go ahead and start driving. Now, the exhaust, it needs some work. We're gonna fix that at some point. How much do you guys like these red seat belts? I actually like them a lot. Let me know in the comments below. To continue on from what I was saying that makes this car so exciting, the stick shift manual, I love that this thing is a manual, and it's only sold as a manual. So if you want an automatic car, this car is not for you. And that's actually one of the compromises that you're gonna have to make with this car. If you're dealing with a lot of traffic, if you're dealing with a lot of local roads, if you don't like manual transmission cars, you're not gonna like this car because it only comes in a manual. And I actually applaud Honda for doing that. I think that making sure that this car only comes in a manual makes it unique. And it reminds me of the Honda S2000 when it came out back in the day. That car also only came in a manual transmission car. And it was exclusive. It kind of forces you into an exclusive group of people that want to learn at least or know how to shift their own gears. Now, for those that don't have a lot of experience driving a manual car, I'll tell you what the biggest negatives are. So let's start with the fact that you're always going to have to press the clutch in, especially when you're in traffic or you're in a traffic light. That clutch is going to be in, out, and your left leg's going to get a bit of a workout. I've been driving manuals basically my entire life. So for me, a clutch pedal is almost part of the driving experience. I don't even notice it anymore. But for a lot of people, it can be kind of annoying to have to always be clutching in. I know a lot of truck drivers, when they go from a stick shift old truck to an automatic new truck, they love the upgrade. It's one of the biggest upgrades they can make, and it's a big quality of life upgrade for them, because they are using that car for work, they're using that car, that truck, for commercial purposes, and having to use that clutch is kind of a pain in the butt. But when you're talking about commuting or talking about driving a sports car, you're going to want a manual, especially if you're going to track the car. But again, this has to do with the compromises, and I really should talk about the fact that it can be annoying. Let's say you're stuck in some really large traffic. You're in that traffic for 45 minutes. That's a long time to be in traffic. I used to live near New York City, so I know a thing or two about horrible traffic like that. Still a little pull here. It's always fun. And so having a manual car, I used to drive a Prelude around New York City, a Honda Prelude. That was manual. Having a manual car, yes, sometimes it would get a little tiring. It would be, my left leg's getting a little tired. I'm, tired of putting it in first and kind of going along, and then I've got to put it in neutral, and I got to put it in first again, and put it in neutral. So I get it. It's kind of annoying. Also, when you're tired and you're just, the work wore you out, and you got to go home, you want to go to sleep, maybe you work some overtime and it's late, and you just want to go home. You don't want anything to bother you. If possible, you'd hit a button and teleport yourself home if that were possible. I get the manual transmission is not going to be the first thing in your priority list to be fumbling around with, especially if you're not used to it. So keep that in mind if you're buying a Civic Type R. It's only going to come in a manual, and it is kind of a compromise. Let's head off to the highway now. Now, when you're on the highway, there's a lot of great things about this car on highway. There's the lane keep assist. There's the great gas mileage. We'll get to that in a little bit. There's the fact that it's fairly quick, so you don't have to worry about passing people. But one thing, and when you're buying a sports car, you should probably expect this, is there's going to be a lot of road noise. So let's go over some stats of this car. It currently has 3,860 miles. That's exactly how many miles it has. It's averaged around 27 to 28 miles to the gallon, which I think is excellent, especially the way I drive it. And there's no way really around road noise, especially on a sportier car. It really has to do with the fact that this car is made to be a lightweight car. So they're not going to put a lot of sound dampening. It's not going to be full of heavy materials. The chassis is going to be built in an economical but also lightweight way, and that's kind of the way of Honda. It's a man maximum, machine minimum. They want to build the smallest, lightest machine that will do the job. And the job of the Civic Type R is to get you around in a sporty hatchback type of way, and also do some track times and track laps and things like that. And Honda did a really great job. But one of the things that kind of had to be compromised, obviously, was the road noise. And we're doing 80 miles an hour. And I'm not going to say it's terrible, but I'm a little bit used to road noise, let's say. And so when I get in this car, I feel like I'm in a luxury car. But it's very far from the truth. Like, that car just passed me, and I can hear the wind noise that car's generating. Because this car has thin glass, it's got thin sheet metal, it's got extremely, extremely thin paint, which is terrible. And yeah, you're going to hear some road noise. So if you're sensitive to road noise, it's going to be a big deal if you buy this car. And so just keep that in mind. I will talk about the paint a little bit. You guys are probably tired of hearing me talk about the paint. But this is kind of a bonus. I said there's 5 things, so let's add the 6th one, a bonus one. The paint is kind of a terrible quality. And that's true especially for the red one. I can't speak for the championship whites. I used to have a previous generation championship white, and that paint was okay. It was fairly weak, but it was okay. This red one is just, you could almost, I feel like if you take your fingernail and start rubbing your fingernail on the paint, it'll rub off. That's how bad the paint is. So you need a PPF on it. That's kind of a compromise when you buy a Honda Civic. It can't just be the Honda Civic Type R, it's definitely all the Honda Civic, so just keep that in mind. But the last real compromise I'll talk about has to do a lot with the tires that I was just talking about, tires and wheels. So these wheels are still extremely high profile, low profile compared to, let's say, SUV tires and wheels. And what I mean by that is there's very little amount of rubber between the road and the wheel. And so if you recall back to the previous generation Type R, they had 20-inch wheels and even smaller, I call them rubber band tires. The reason manufacturers do that is because on these modern cars, there's a lot of electronics and things that get in the way of the feel of the road. Getting extremely large wheels with low profile tires tries to introduce a little bit of the road feel to the driving experience. It also kind of stiffens up the suspension in an artificial way, and it's supposed to make the car a little bit sportier. That's why big wheels are such a big thing on sports cars. But if you do a lot of track driving like I do, you understand that big wheels and low profile there's a point of diminishing return. And so I think Honda did a smart thing, and for the next generation Civic Type R, the one we're currently in, they did a 19-inch wheel and a slightly larger profile tire, and that's great. But I think it's still a little bit too large, and that's a compromise you make, especially when you drive your car as a daily driver in areas with bad roads, which is effectively anywhere north of Virginia, and I think including Virginia. Because if you have winters, your roads are going to have tons of potholes. That's just the reality of it. Ice forms under the road and pops up the rocks, and then you get a bunch of plow trucks plowing the road and scrapes up and makes a bunch of potholes, and then you go and hit those potholes, and you're going to have a bad day. You're going to have a flat tire. And so when you buy a car like this, you really have to pay attention to the road. I'm actually fairly well trained at this. Riding a motorcycle has actually trained me very well at looking ahead and looking at the road and looking at the debris, looking at the conditions. That's something that I always recommend folks to always keep in mind when you're driving your car. Keep your distance as far as you can see it and plan your trip. Plan where your car is going to go. Don't look at the obstacles, because where you look is where your car is going to go. Look away from the obstacles, plan your routes, and plan that way. And I've been trained very well. But that's really a compromise you make when you buy any really sports car. Because we talked about the gas mileage of this car. And it's got great gas mileage. Currently, I'm getting 27 miles to the gallon. I think that's great. And I've been driving this car pretty, let's say, spiritedly around my back roads up here in northern Florida, and pretty desolate northern Florida. So it's been pretty good. Now, the big problem with this is that effectively when I hit 200 miles on my tank, so I fill up, within 200 miles, I'm filling up my tank again. That is a huge compromise, right? So keep that in mind. If you have a commute that's 50 or 60 miles each way, you're gonna be filling up every 2 days. So I'll give you a scenario. So it's Sunday night, I fill up my gas tank, so my gas tank's full. I drive, let's say, from my house to the nearest city, and that's about 70 miles. And I drive back, which is 140 miles, right? So that's Monday night. Tuesday morning, I'm good to go. I can make it to the city, but on my way back Tuesday evening, I'm going to have to fill up the car. Yes, every 2 days. And so again, the cycle starts again. Wednesday, I'm good. Thursday night, I had to fill it up. That's crazy to me. That's crazy to me that this gas tank is so small, you have to fill up that often. And I know they basically designed this gas tank for the efficient Civics. If you get a regular Civic Sport and it's got the naturally aspirated K20 engine, I believe NOS S2K on YouTube has one of these in manual. You get amazing gas mileage. You get like 40 miles to the gallon. With 40 miles to the gallon in the same gas tank, it's not a big deal. Actually, it's pretty great. You get close to 300 miles, maybe more. But when you're getting 27, 28 miles to the gallon, you're gonna be visiting a lot of gas stations. Now, if visiting gas stations is not a big deal to you, hey, more power to you. But I don't like visiting gas stations. I have other things to do with my life than go to a gas station. I don't play the lotto. I don't buy energy drinks from there. I don't buy cigarettes ever. I don't belong at a gas station, really. And so I hate having to go so often. I wish this tank was at least a 16 or 17 gallon tank. Again, I've said it in a number of my videos, just like I talk about the paint on this car. The gas tank is one of the Achilles heels of these cars. It's got a freaking thimble of a gas tank. But all right, guys, if I missed anything, any other compromises you guys are dealing with or may think of, let me know down in the comments below. I'm always reading the comments and trying to respond to as many as I can. And if you have any questions, again, put them down below. I'm happy to answer them, or if I don't answer them, then we have a great community of car fanatics and Civic Type R fanatics and owners on this channel. I'm sure they'll answer for me as well, or maybe even better than me. And yeah, thanks for watching, guys. I'll catch you next time. Peace.